Welcome back. This is the Traders Network with continuing coverage of the Greenwich Economic Forum. I'm David Nelson, your host, and joining me right now is the mayor of Greenwich, making this possible, Peter Tesei. Peter, thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure to be with you.
Hey, Peter, I just walked in, and the buzz is just palpable. You walk in, the energy in this room is incredible. Some of the brightest minds on the street, some of the brightest minds in the financial community are here. What did it take to make this happen?
Well, it took some ingenuity on the part of volunteers of our community and a business council that I put together. And it took the endorsement of Ray Dalio, who is a resident of Greenwich and who we pitched the idea to and gave us his support. And I think it blossomed from there.
I saw Ray here yesterday, and he was certainly a focal point. I can't even imagine the amount of money. I don't know if anybody's done the calculation about the amount of money that is managed by the people that have been speaking at this event. It has to be in the trillions.
I believe it's $4 trillion.
$4 trillion. It's a pretty sizable number. Where do you see Greenwich playing a role in this in the future? This was at one time the hedge fund capital of the world. Now, we all know there's been a transition. Finance can probably move anywhere at this point, so it's spread out amongst the four corners of the planet. Is the financial community still a focal point for Greenwich?
It is, and that was one of the objectives of putting on a conference like this. It was to reinforce the fact that while there's been changes in the market and people's domicile, that there's still a significant presence here, and that presence is represented in the professionals that we see and the work that they do. So we wanted to highlight that fact and also highlight the intellectual capital. And I think this forum shows that it's quite vibrant.
Do you think this is going to be an ongoing process that will develop over time and maybe a yearly event or a semi-annual event?
It is intended to be a yearly event. This is year 2. And I think each year you have an opportunity to look at how you've done, make changes and improve. Clearly, this year's program is run very smoothly, not a lot of kinks in it. One of the areas that we're looking to really expand upon is culture, art, bring that into it as well. There's a lot of talent in this area that we can showcase and tie into the whole financial sector. So I expect we're going to see a further broadened forum next year.
It seems like a marriage of capital and need. There's certainly need out there, and they're trying to tackle some of the toughest problems we have on the planet: income inequality, a changing dynamic around the world, and a political dynamic that is divided at best. What is some of the major solutions that have been brought out at this conference? I've heard a lot of talk about public-private partnerships. Is it possible to get government and the private sector together to solve some of these problems?
Yes, it is. In Greenwich as a community has benefited from these public-private partnerships, but more globally, I think the thoughts that were provided by Paul Tudor Jones and looking at corporate profits from the 1960s and where they are today, and how if companies were to shift some of that back into the public sector to support solutions in areas of education, inequality, healthcare access, things that matter to everyday people's lives, that we can continue to have a very vibrant capitalist system. Right now there's that division between those who are attacking capitalism and those certainly who want to see it continue to thrive. And I think having that readjustment will help ensure that.
Was the feeling that coming out of this conference that it was more about trying to fix what's wrong with capitalism or turning it upside down and reinventing it?
I think it's just trying to fix some of the issues that have accrued with excesses. Anytime you have excesses in any situation, it creates an imbalance. Balance is the key to everything in life, and I do think this is the freest country with the most opportunity, and that's based on capitalism. It just needs to be harnessed and put to a positive use.
It's interesting that during the course of the week, there's been a lot of fairly vibrant news of Bank of America raising the minimum wage up to $20 probably a year earlier. And it begged the question, was they doing it to advance that sustainable growth, or is it because the economy was vibrant enough that workers have jobs? They're going to have to pay these people what they deserve to get them in-house. It seems to be an increasing conversation that I'm hearing on the street.
Well, that point was made yesterday that it's far more cost effective to have people employed and paying them a fair wage rather than on government assistance, which you have to fund through further taxation. And so I think getting back to that, private equity being put into public good and directing it is far better than the government trying to do it. Right?
One of the things I heard at the conference is a lot of talk about financial engineering and ways of making stock prices go higher that maybe benefit the long-term health of the company. Are companies, do you sense that they're starting to reinvest in themselves again and starting to put capital back into the companies rather than some of the accounting gimmicks of the old?
That seems to be the trend, and I think it's being driven by a realization of what's taking place in society. And what I enjoyed hearing yesterday from both Ray Dalio and Paul Tudor Jones is that we need to bring people together. And I think unity of purpose is important. The divisiveness can only last for so long when people wake up and say, enough. Life is finite and we need to make the most of it, and let's harness our talents to achieve a greater good.
We have a lot more in common than what divides us. So what's next for Greenwich? We have this event here at the Del Mar, one of my favorite hotels. I've been a resident of Greenwich for the last 19 years, and I've worked in this town for the last 10 years. What do you see next on the agenda?
Well, Greenwich is a premier residential community. Clearly, our attractiveness is our geographic location to New York, the bucolic Long Island Sound. But in terms of lifestyle, I think having access to quality education, healthcare, recreational opportunities, certainly the business presence, all create the value proposition and why we're promoting ourselves. We have a low tax rate, and I think going forward, we have to maintain our reputation through investments in our public amenities, harnessing public-private partnerships to do further improvements, and really using the intellectual capital here to achieve outcomes, which this is about.
So, this event is a testament to all of that. I'm sure it will continue. Peter, thank you so much
for being
with us.
Great to be with you.
A special thank you to our Syndicate Network affiliates, Fox News, ABC, NBC, and CBS. I'm David Nelson. We'll be right back.
The 2019 Greenwich Economic Forum is brought to you by Bridgewater Associates. Meaningful work, meaningful relationships. Churchill Asset Management, Nuveen, a leading provider of senior and unitranche debt to middle market companies. Ropes & Gray, bright past, brilliant future. Aurora Capital, inspiring partnerships. And Gramercy Funds Management, we are emerging markets. Special considerations to Bank of America, life's better when we're connected. Noah Private Wealth Management, a leading wealth and asset management service provider in China. Guotai Jinan Futures, a leading brokerage firm for commodity futures and financial futures in China. China Industrial Securities, a comprehensive financial group providing full spectrum financial services in Hong Kong. And Titan Advisors, built like a hedge fund. Special thanks to the Financial Times and Greenwich Business Institute for hosting us. Special thank you to 1-800 Public Relations for all your PR and media support. And thank you to all the sponsors who helped make this event possible. We'll be right back after